Sandman Stories presents Chapter 16 from the Korean folktales Imps, Ghosts, and Fairies by Im Bang and Ryuk Yi. Chapter 16 The Man Who Became a Pig. Kim Yu was the son of a country magistrate who graduated with literary honors in 1596. In 1623, he was one of the faithful courtiers who joined forces to dethrone the wicked prince Gwanghae and place Injo on the throne. He was raised to the rank of prince and later became prime minister. In the year 1624, when Igwal raised an insurrection, he was the means of putting it down and of bringing many of his followers to justice. In 1648, he died at the age of 77. In the last year of Sunjo, the king called his grandchildren together and had them write Chinese for him and draw pictures. At that time, Injo was a little boy, and he drew a picture of a horse. King Sunjo gave the picture to Ihangbok, but when the latter some years later went into exile, he gave the picture to Kim Yu. Kim Yu took it and hung it up in his house, and there it remained. Prince Injo was one day making a journey out of the palace when he was overtaken by rain and took refuge in a neighboring gate quarters. A servant maid came out and invited him in, asking him not to stand in the wet, but Prince Injo declined. The invitation, however, was insisted on, and he went into the guest room, where he saw the picture of the horse on the wall. On examining it carefully, he recognized it as the picture he had drawn when a lad, and he wondered how it could have come here. Kim Yu then came in, and they met for the first time. Prince Injo told him how he had been overtaken by rain and invited in. When he asked concerning the picture of the horse that hung on the wall, and Kim Yu in reply asked why he inquired, Prince Injo said, "I drew that picture myself when I was a boy." Just as they spoke together, a rich table of food was brought in from the inner quarters. Kim Yu, not knowing yet who his guest was, looked with wonder at this surprise, and after Prince Injo had gone, he inquired of his wife why she had sent such delicious fare in to a stranger. The wife replied, "In a dream last night, I saw the king come and stand in front of our house. I was just thinking it over when the servant came in and said that someone was standing before the door. I looked out, and lo, it was the man I had seen in my dream. So I have treated him to the best of hospitality that I was able." Kim Yu soon learned who his caller had been, and became from that time the faithful supporter of Prince Injo, and later helped to put him on the throne. After Injo became king, he asked privately of Kim Yu where he had got the picture. Kim Yu said, "I got it from Prince Ihangbok." Kim Yu then called Yi Sun and inquired of him as to how his father had got it. The son said, "In the last year of King Sunjo, he called my father along with all his grandchildren, and showed him the writings and drawings of the young princes. My father looked at them with interest, but the king gave him only one as a keepsake, namely the drawing of the horse. In the picture there was a willow tree and a horse tied to it. Kim Yu then recognized the thought that underlay the gift of the picture, namely that Prince Ihangbok should support Injo in the succession to the throne. And now for the story. A certain minister of state called Kim Yu, living in the county of Seungpyeong, had a relative who resided in a far distant part of the country, an old man aged nearly 100. On a certain day, a son of this patriarch came to the office of the minister and asked to see him. Kim ordered him to be admitted and inquired as to why he had come. Said he, "I have something very important to say, a private matter, to lay before your excellency. There are so many guests with you now that I'll come back in the evening and tell it." In the evening, when all had departed, he came, and the minister ordered out all his personal retainers, and asked the meaning of the call. The man replied, saying, "My father, though very old, was, as you know, a strong and hardy man. On a certain day he called us children to him, and said, 'I wish to have a siesta.' So now close the door, and all of you go out of the room. Do not let anyone venture in till I call you." We children agreed, of course, and did so. Till late at night there was neither call nor command to open the door, so that we began to be anxious. We at last looked through the chink, and lo, there was our father changed into a huge pig. Terrified by the sight of it, we opened the door and looked in. When the animal grunted and growled and made a rush to get out past us, we hurriedly closed the door again and held consultation. Some said, "Let's keep the pig just as it is, within doors, and care for it." Some said, "Let's have a funeral and bury it." We ignorant country folk, not knowing just what to do under such peculiar circumstances, I have come to ask counsel of your excellency. Please think over this startling phenomenon, and tell us what we ought to do." Prince Kim, hearing this, gave a great start, thought it over for a long time, and at last said, "No such mysterious thing was ever heard of before, and I really don't know what is best to do under the circumstances. But still, it seems to me that since this metamorphosis has come about, you had better not bury it before death, so give up the funeral idea. Since, too, it is not a human being any longer, I do not think it right to keep it in the house. You say that it wants to make its escape, and as a cave in the woods or hills is its proper abode, I think you had better take it out and let it go free into the trackless depths of some mountainous country where no foot of man has ever trod." The son accepted this wise counsel, and did as the minister advised, took it away into the deep mountains and let it go. Then he donned sackcloth, mourned, buried his father's clothes for a funeral, and observed the day of metamorphosis as the day of sacrificial ceremony. Im Bang.